My name is Simon Dandy. I am VP of Product Evangelism at Latera Microsystems, and I'll be your host for the next 30 minutes. At the end of this session, if the timing is good, we will hopefully leave time for questions. And if you have a question that you'd like answered, please enter it into the questions box on the right of your screen. So in this webinar, we're going to discuss why we created our own publication, The Changing Lawyer. We're going to share trends that are shaping the future of the industry. We're going to explore key topics from crowdsourcing innovation to millennials in the workplace and the importance of security. And then we're going to talk about what's changed since last year's Changing Lawyer publication. But first, we're going to kick off with a short video just to introduce you to some of the topics we're going to be covering. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. The Changing Lawyer is not only a webinar series, it's actually a publication published on very nice thick cardstock. It's a video that you just saw. It's a website, and it's even a roadshow. And if you would like a copy of the hard copy, just email me directly at sdandy@latera.com, and I'll make sure that you receive one in the mail. Now, we created this as a vehicle to share some of the trends that the legal community is talking about and that we are experiencing. As a trusted vendor, we feel like we have a responsibility to be part of this conversation and to lead where the profession is heading and to openly discuss the challenges our customers face in the hopes that we can collectively shape the future. The first version of The Changing Lawyer came out in 2017, and an updated one was released this year at ILTACON. In the updated version, we feature several new themes that I'll be covering towards the end of this presentation. So we're going to start off with competition. The competitive landscape for law firms is getting tougher, and there are four main areas that we see firms worrying about. The corporate insourcing threat is becoming more of an issue for law firms, and according to the Altman Wells survey, about 85% of large law firms have reported losing business to in-house counsel for the past 3 years. So corporations are doing more of their repeat legal work themselves, leaving less of the legal business pie for law firms. In-house counsel are finding that they can often do this work cheaper, therefore reducing their company's overall legal spend. At the same time, they can maintain more control over the process. Some are using Lean, Six Sigma, and other process improvement methodologies to really maximize efficiencies and make it more predictable. And corporate legal operations is now seen as a field of expertise in its own right. And there's now even an industry organization, the Corporate Legal Operations Consortium, or CLOC. It's now thriving and is regarded as the go-to organization for legal ops, best practices, know-how, and benchmarking. They have an annual conference in the US, and this year there were over 2,200 attendees. That's up massively from the 450 they had 2 years ago when they first started. And they're starting to make waves in Europe and Australia with events there too. And then we move on to commoditization. This is also an issue, and to state the obvious, when multiple firms can perform the same legal work equally well, there's going to be commoditization of these services, and the price pressure that this generates forces law firms to become more efficient, and this is where we see an increased use of alternative fee arrangements, or AFAs, fixed prices, contingency fees, and the billable hour. As a result, law firms are getting better at pricing and understanding how much a mandate or a matter will cost them. But firms are definitely having to hunt for further ways to differentiate, and one way they're doing this is to demonstrate to clients that they're using technology to become more efficient. Alternative legal service providers are also making increased use of technology, and they're also a threat to law firms. There are hundreds of legal tech startups as well, and some that are very well funded, all trying to automate parts of the legal process. And this tech, as it becomes more mainstream, is only going to increase the pressure to innovate and to differentiate to survive. Then we have lateral hiring. According to the ALM Intelligence Survey, there were almost 3,000 lateral partner moves between Am Law 200 firms last year. And there have been 3 straight years of growth in this area. It's a major growth strategy for some firms. And these partners often bring whole teams and their clients with them. The law firms they're coming to have to pay well, sometimes overpaying to bring them across. And there's a big financial risk involved to them. Sometimes the firms have to break their lockstep compensation model, and there are cultural as well as financial risks that come along with this. And then retaining top talent and preventing your lawyers or your partners from going elsewhere is a major concern for law firms. So there are some adjustments that firms are having to make here. And then finally, there's the big 4. These are EY, Deloitte, KPMG, and PwC. They're the biggest accountancy firms in the world. And they now collectively employ about 8,500 lawyers globally. PwC Legal has the largest legal arm of the Big 4 and has 2,500 lawyers, making it the world's 6th largest legal service provider by that measure. That's up there with the likes of Clifford Chance and Jones Day. A decade ago, the UK Legal Services Act enabled law firms to be owned and run by non-lawyers, which opened the door to these firms and to other non-traditional legal service providers in Europe. But in the US, so far at least, the regulatory framework has acted as a firewall, preventing them from doing any substantial legal business there. However, recently there have been some more creative moves to navigate around this and for them to stake their claim in the world's largest market, the US. As you can see from this headline, Deloitte is making an entry into the US market by creating an alliance with US immigration law firm. They also have an alliance with a Canadian immigration law firm that was announced in 2014. And then most recently, EY's acquisition of Riverview Law expands its managed legal service arm and caused a significant stir in the legal press. So moving on to workforce challenges. And things are changing in this area for all companies, not just in legal. But as far as work habits go, the desire to work more remotely and outside the traditional 9 to 5. There are the homebody and night owl people who actually prefer to work early in the morning or late at night, and just general work-life balance. There's also an expectation of technology in the workplace, technology for everything. The generation that did not grow up before the internet arrived is now in the workplace, and they expect a certain level of technology to be there. They expect touch screens. They feel natural swiping on things to actually move the UI forward. So you have to address that and think about those things when you're implementing technology. There's also a desire to work on meaningful work. The social impact of their work is intelligent, is important to them, and directly impacts their value of the work. And then there's loyalty. A change to the partner model likely to move professions forward. And these days, people aren't likely to stay in the same role for more than 2 to 3 years. So the partner model is starting to struggle under those pressures. And then finally here, you have Google G Suite being the default application that law students they're using now. And when they come into the business workplace, they're quite often presented with Microsoft Office, and they have to transition to that and get used to that. And it's a very different experience. And in corporate and in legal, the security restrictions that are put into place, which sometimes take away from the usability, are quite frustrating. So law firms are traditionally centered around subject matter expertise and not operational excellence. That's how it's always been. But client expectations are creating more pressure on firms to improve and optimize their operations. In response to this, we're seeing change. And there are some very forward-thinking progressive firms out there that are starting to make changes and adapt proactively. But there are still a lot of holdouts. And it's the client pressure that's really forcing them to respond and adapt. Clients have been and are increasingly cost conscious, particularly with more commodity work or where the work is not the company work that the very top firms are increasingly specializing in. Clients are shopping around more, and with procurement teams now becoming more commonplace, it can be less about the relationship and the history with the firm and more about getting the best deal for the best, most consistent quality work. There's also an expectation of transparency from clients, for both billing and the status of the work. This can beg the question, who actually owns the matter? It's a change in the relationship dynamic. E-billing is also becoming more widely used, as well as limitations on what can and cannot be billed. Not paying for first-year associates is not unheard of because they're considered to be in training. Then there's not paying for disbursements or accepting fewer of these. When I first worked in a law firm 20 years ago, everything was billed back to the client, from faxes to photocopying, telephone calls, research tools, and even printing. And because of this, the technology that we implemented to track this was really expensive because they knew we were getting the money back on the other side. Now most of these items are rolled up costs, and the tracking technology itself is starting to go away. But clients are also auditing for efficiencies and using RFPs for understanding how technology will be leveraged. And it's all part of the corporate procurement team becoming more adept at managing their supply chain. It used to be just security that was audited by clients. Now there are frequent audits and RFPs to ensure quality, speed, and risk mitigation. AFAs, or alternative fee arrangements, fixed fees, contingency fees, and other hybrid billing models are now becoming the norm. And this forces the law firm to become more efficient, to properly price a mandate, and to understand all of their internal costs. There's no longer any room for inefficiencies. They need to be able to turn around work product quickly without a loss in quality. To achieve this, firms are investing in enterprise quality tools and automation that can reduce the friction, the pain points, and the inherent risk in legal processes, such as the document drafting lifecycle. So the latest version of Changing the Work continues to build on the themes we just discussed, and it has additional articles and research on the following topics. So starting off with digital optimization, it's not transformation. Simply upgrading your technology is not enough. True transformation comes when there's complete overhaul of the IT strategy. All areas of legal work are going to be touched by this technology, and the utilization and adoption of the technology needs to become the norm. The legal tech innovation landscape is still heavily fragmented, and massive disruption is coming over the next 10 to 15 years. It will come with vendors offering solutions to a wide range of problems, so there'll be fewer point solutions out there. And these technologies will fundamentally change the way law firms operate and allow increased focus on clients. Then there's crowdsourcing innovation. Law firms want the best people doing the work for the best clients. They also want to source the best ideas for innovation. And having a chief innovation officer or an innovation team is not unheard of. At this year's ILTACON, innovation was the buzzword that was appearing everywhere. Crowdsourcing innovation can highlight opportunities and requirements for a transformational agenda. And engaging junior lawyers also helps to retain the top talent and change process and implement ideas for the new wave of lawyers. This is increasingly important because, as we discussed, more and more millennials make up the workplace. Only a small percentage are part of the firm's leadership. So we're now even seeing summer associates having a percentage of their time devoted to innovation activities, and they're recruiting a certain portion of those summer associates based on their skill and interest in this area. And crowdsourcing can be both internal and external. And some firms have started tech incubators, like A&O and Mishcon de Reya. They allow them to invest and further fund compelling ideas. And then there's lessons from going mobile. Firms are embracing remote work culture, allowing them to deliver an optimal mix of skills for each project, while allowing their lawyers to maintain some sense of work-life balance. The key for successful implementation is making available a technology stack that offers a flexible, scalable solution, and it should offer the same or improved experience and efficiency for lawyers and clients. From the IT perspective, it means striking a real balance between security and usability, and that's the hard part. For the firm embracing this culture, it offers a competitive advantage and working through retention of current staff and attracting new recruits. Then we'll talk about tackling the data deluge. So almost half, or 40%, 47% of firms surveyed said they have over 10 legal suppliers, and 2/3 said there was an overlapping functionality. 60% of respondents are looking to consolidate the number of vendors. The amount of complexity and data is increasing. The CIO's task is to inform, educate, and inspire the internal audience to drive change. The aim being to create a cohesive ecosystem that aims to serve clients, and an important part is the people process. In the future, client pitches are going to have project managers, technologists, and process professionals, as well as the lead lawyers present. And the firms can get this ecosystem right. Firms that do get this ecosystem right can improve performance and also create a new way of practicing law. And finally, we have data security and compliance. So 42% of our respondents said that information and data security are one of the greatest risks to their firm in the coming 24 months. Firms are having to strike a balance between security and convenience, and they need to focus on compliance, client service, and client trust. Every member of the firm has a part to play in security. It's no longer just an IT issue. Firms have increasingly become custodians of highly valuable, not to mention scary, data. And cyber threats are a matter of when, not if. So not only do firms have to be aware of external threats, but also insider threats, which could arise from an individual seeking to cause deliberate harm, but also human error and incompetence. And the firm needs to make it easy for the end users, their employees, to do the right thing. AI, another buzzword, could be used to play a valuable role in passive detection. But proactive measures to make the workflow simpler and less error-prone are more likely to have a bigger impact. Overall, firms need to make it easy for their employees to do the right thing and not be tempted to work around the system to obtain convenience and ease of use. So that's the presentation. Hopefully that gave you an insight into the Changing Lawyer publication. What's new? Please do email me at sdandy@letterra.com if you would like a hard copy version. We are in the process of sending out to all our existing customers, but that will be one copy per firm. We're more than happy to send more. And I'm seeing some questions in here. Let me just pull up my questions bar. Okay, so we have a question from Steve. How do you get user adoption of new technology when lawyers won't turn up for training? So a good way to do this is to entice lawyers with CLE or CPD points. That's one strategy we're seeing used to actually get lawyers to attend and to turn up for training because they need it for their professional requirements. We actually do provide content that can be repurposed for this and is certainly used widely by our customers to do that training. And then actually looking at usage statistics, and you may have systems in your environment that you can use. So if you have a Citrix environment or SCCM, sometimes can provide ways to find out how often an application is being used and in what departments and locations. We actually do provide usage statistics ourselves, and we have it currently with 2 of our products. We're adding it to the rest of our suite by the end of next year. And our customer service managers can actually provide this data to you as a customer so that you can see graphically where the application is being used. We actually have feature by feature usage statistics, so you can see what they're actually doing with it. In the firm that I worked for, we actually were able to produce statistics on how often an executable was run, and you can really show the value then and show where it's being used, so you can evangelize and train people in other areas of the firm where it's not used widely, and understand their workflow and target campaigns to them. You can also get users that are advocates for your product, that they were involved in the pilot and the purchase, to be influencers and to virally promote the products across your organization, and then share positive stories and quotes. And also, if you're not getting people to turn up for training, short videos on key functions and kind of top tip newsletters and emails are all great things to push out there to grab people's attention to get them using things. Okay, I have one more question here, which is, it's from Jack, how can we persuade our firm management that change and investment is needed? I would love to know the answer to this because it would help us sell software, but this is particularly hard if the lawyers are actually bringing in money and don't want to change. But if they are feeling these pressures, which many law firms are, certainly the Senior management will understand that. Your COO and senior partners will be looking for ways to differentiate. And if you as a legal technologist can engage in those conversations with them and use the information that we've been sharing in the Changing Lawyer to show your understanding of it and to show your interest in it, then you can have conversations because you're speaking on their level, you're talking about the same things. And I think that this can be a really valuable tool. You know, sharing the Changing Lawyer with them is another way to do that. Certainly, I always found that hanging out near the coffee machine or the water cooler, to have conversations with lawyers, to be proactive about engaging them in some of these things can be really useful, rather than knocking on their door and interrupting their work where they're just annoyed and not interested. You catch them at other moments in time and have those conversations. You could also show them metrics and efficiencies that you've already made. If you can do before and after statistics to show, you know, just the number of clicks it takes to produce some work product versus the number of clicks after you've implemented this new solution. One firm here in Chicago actually did a survey that found out that a single click that was added cost the organization $6 per user every time they made that additional click. So it really adds up. And then a technology audit, something like that. We actually offer these now. We're doing a campaign to offer the ability to have us look at the lawyer's workflows and show you where you can make improvements in those things. Okay, I think we are at the top of the hour, so I really appreciate you listening and staying onto the end here. I hope you found this useful, and please do email me if you want to receive a copy of the Changing Lawyer, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Changing Lawyer webinar. Thank you.